going to find the area of a trapezoid, and you can see here that we have a formula for the area of a trapezoid. And we could go through and figure out how this formula came to be. Essentially, the kind of the short story about how this comes to be is that we can take this trapezoid and we can break it up into two triangles, okay, and one rectangle in the middle. And if we kind of add together the components like we did in the last video with those irregular shapes, we can generalize and get this formula about 1/2 the height b1 plus b2, right? So that's going to be kind of like the short, summary of how we're getting to that, right? And again, just to stress, the height of the trapezoid is the perpendicular distance between the bases. So we need a perpendicular line. We cannot use one of these slanted lines in order to figure it out. So let's just hop right in. We're going to do one example and then look at some slightly more advanced ones, right? And we're going to focus on, too far. Let's focus on this one right here. Okay, so in example 1 here, this is Nevada. Nevada is in the shape of a trapezoid. It's got two parallel borders, right? And then the other two sides are not parallel. So they tell us that the sides, okay, of Nevada are 205 miles, okay, at its western border, and 511 miles at its eastern border, right? And then they show us that across the state, which is a height, it is measured perpendicular. Right, we have this line 309 going from one base to the other base. So they just gave us all the parts that we need. We really just need to plug into the formula, and we're ready to go. So let's do that. Area equals 1/2 the height, which is 309 miles. That's the distance between the bases, times the sum of the bases, which is 205 plus 511. Right, so we really just need to simplify this. This is in square miles if we're trying to figure out how many miles there are inside of this shape. Okay, how many little square miles we could fit inside of Nevada. We're going to do 205 plus 511, which is 716. Multiply that by 309, okay, and then multiply that answer by 1/2, right? And we get an answer of 110,622. 110,622 square miles. So just to show you another way that we might write this, instead of writing miles squared, we could also write square miles. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. You can see that for tons of different types of problems. Okay, so what I want to focus on is, well, what happens if they don't give you everything? And in this case, they did not give us what we need to finish the problem, right? They're asking us to find the area of this trapezoid. We know the bases are 5 and 7, so we know two parts of the formula, but we do not know the height. And in fact, they didn't even draw the height in. It's kind of, it's over here, but we don't know anything about that one. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to break this shape up. Hey, let me get my line tool out. All right, and we're going to put another line right here, okay? So that's just another height. This RQ over here is a height. Okay, but we're going to put another one in. And the reason I did that is because if you notice what I just created is I created a 30, 60, 90 right triangle. Right? So I drew in a height, so this is 90, and they gave us 60, so that one's got to be 30. Right? And I also, again, I created a rectangle on the right. So this 5 on the top is also a 5 on the bottom, which means instead of this being the whole thing being 7, it's made up of 5 and 2. Okay? And that's helpful because now, if you remember our 30, 60, 90 special right triangles, I know that across from the 30 is the short leg. Across from the 60 would then be 2 square root of 3. And we don't need it, but let's just do it just to review a little bit, that the hypotenuse would just be double the 30, which means this would be 4. Okay? So now I can figure out the area of the shape. And again, I can use the irregular shapes and just add together the triangle and the rectangle, or I can use the trapezoid formula. Let's just do one trapezoid formula because we're focusing on those. So I'm going to use 1/2 the height times the sum of the bases. Okay, so this looks like 1/2. My height is 2 times the square root of 3, okay, which will put this in nearest 10th form when we add them together. Okay, and my bases are the 7 on the bottom and the 5 on the top, so 7 plus 5. Okay, so again, this is just calculator work from here on out. So I'm going to do 2 times the square root of 3, 2 times 3 square root, okay, times 1/2 times 7 plus 5, which is 12. So it looks like when you multiply all this out, okay, since they didn't answer it and ask for it in simplest radical form, it looks like we get about 20.8 meters squared as our area. Okay, so you can see that there are going to be some problems that are not as straightforward. In this case, we had to use what we knew about 30, 60, 90 special right triangles to figure out the missing height. Then we can plug into the formula and we can figure out our area.